Adoption and expensive, two words that do not always belong together. There are 120,000 children in the United States that are waiting for a forever family, and adopting through this option is extremely affordable. I'm Marcy Bursack, an adoptive mom of a sibling pair, and also the author of The Forgotten Adoption Option. Twice monthly, I will interview people like adoptive parents and adopted children who have been touched by foster care adoption. My goal is to find more forever families and increase awareness about foster care adoption, because if it were you or me, we would want someone to do this for us. Welcome to the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast. This episode is a celebration of National Foster Care Month and Foster Parent Appreciation Day. To celebrate, we're going to have a party via airwaves. My daughter, little sister, is going to join as co-host as we interview the creator, co-writer, and star of LILLY'S Light, the movie. Little sister, will you tell our listeners what is celebrated on May 31st besides Memorial Day?
What is celebrated on May 31st is Foster Parent Appreciation Day. It is time to recognize and thank foster parents who work every day to provide a stable home for children and youth in foster care.
That's completely right. In fact, a recent study from 2007 by the Dave Thomas Foundation shared that 28% of adults have considered becoming a foster parent. And today, there are over 220,000 licensed foster homes in the United States.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot of people. And one thing that gets my heart really fired up is increasing awareness about children who are in the foster care system and need a permanent family. In fact, part of what prompted me to write the book, The Forgotten Adoption Option, and start this podcast was feeling that children in foster care get overlooked. Insert Sherry Hursey, who saw a story to be told about children experiencing disappointments, losses, and changes because she herself had gone through these situations in her childhood. Mother's Day morning, 9-year-old little sister and I had a movie date, and we streamed Sherry's newest film, LILLY'S Light, the movie, on Amazon. Little sister and I found ourselves snuggling on the couch while singing along to heartwarming songs and laughing at a talking pig.
Hi, Sherry. Welcome.
Hi, little sister. Hi, Marcy. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you, and we're eager to hear the heart behind LILLY'S Light, the movie. In LILLY'S Light, the movie, Sherry stars as Lily, a loving foster mom and keeper of an enchanted lighthouse who uses joy, love, laughter, and songs as tools to show everyone that life is full of possibilities. As an adoptive mom, what I love about LILLY'S Light, the movie, is the spark it ignites, a spark that allows families to talk about the realities of foster care and adoption in an emotionally healthy and hope-filled way.
Mom, do your listeners know they can stream LILLY'S Light, the movie at home?
Oh yeah, good point. You can stream LILLY'S Light, the movie on any online platform, including Amazon and iTunes.
Sherry, as the creator, co-writer, and star of LILLY'S Light, the movie, let's talk about the characters you bring to life.
Well, it's exciting because we get to talk about, like, not just you being in the film, but we get to talk about you designing the film, which is so rad.
It really is. I mean, it has been my heart project for so many years now that I'm just so proud of the way it's finally turned out. It started out, I think you might know, as a little pilot for PBS, and it was to advocate for fostering and adoption. I felt there was something more that I came here to do. And I know that these questions that you've asked me, they're very, very thought-provoking, and we're going to get into some stuff, but I think it's really important. I want to be very honest and genuine with my answers. And my passion for this subject and for LILLY'S Light, the musical, the movie in general, was sort of birthed out of my own traumatic childhood. When I was a child and my parents fought and there was screaming and hysteria, and I had a younger sister I tried to protect, And at the end of the day, my dad, believing that he couldn't really help me because he thought I was already ruined, quote unquote, from the experience of our childhood, he decided to save my sister and basically left me and with my mom, and we ended up coming to California. So I was estranged from everyone I knew and loved in my South Carolina community.
Wow.
And the story is pretty. It's a 5-hour TV movie that I will maybe one day write, only if it can uplift someone who may have gone through things. And I know that my story wasn't nearly as challenging as a lot of other children.
I was uprooted to California as a young teenager, and shortly after moving here, I met a who had recently lost both her parents, and I did not want to see her shipped off to distant relatives. And I came home and told my mom we had to do something. And she became my foster sister. And we're still very close. We just actually saw each other for the first time in a year last week and got to hug, which was huge after COVID. Yeah. So I spent, many years seeking counseling and spiritual support to heal my brokenness, as it were. And I had these deep abandonment issues and issues of deserving and belonging. So I know how important it is to feel wanted and to belong to a family. When Lily says, I made a family out of my friends, well, that was completely true for me.
It's exactly what you did when you just described your foster sister. And I'm going to go backwards in what you said. One thing you said is something to the effect of, what I went through might not be the same as what others, like it might not compare. And it's interesting, right? Because I don't think that there's like a measurement of like, well, this is more traumatic or not traumatic, right? Like there's definitely this, I went through something, it impacted my life.
Yes.
And I have to figure out how to make sense of it, or at least how to grow from it and mature from it and be part of life with it, right? And I think that's kind of the universal thread where I see little sister and big brother and other kids that have been touched by foster care and adoption that, no matter how big the challenges are, it's about working through them.
Absolutely. And finding the gifts that they bring, because there is a special gift in every one of those situations. I've grown to learn that there is something gifted to you when you work your way out of those situations. And really, there are a lot of things I have to say about this, because I think in the case of children, parents are sort of like their gods. When you're a little kid, you look up to your parent. That's who represents God or love to you. And when you lose that figure early, or you don't feel that love or that support, it can make it so much more challenging to find or to get in touch with your own inner voice and your own strength of love.
Right.
But when you do, and you have to get past all that inner dialogue that we create that says we're not worthy, or we're not deserving, or we can't trust, or blah, 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 or even we're to blame. But when we get through that and we understand, we start to heal, and we begin to notice those negative voices in our head, and we can then reprogram them and start creating more empowering thoughts, then we have really learned something that other people may not even know. And there are incredible benefits and beautiful things that come out of that, learning how to really lasso your thoughts and how to create higher ones, and more empowering ones.
Right. But what a journey that is, right? Like to not just know that you have the negative voice in your head or these lies, but to actually process through them and work through them. You're kind of flashbacking for me, Sherry, the scene where little sister, we got out some photos of bio family and just talked through things, as we always have had an open dialogue. But I remember a little sister having some very serious questions about but why couldn't they work harder? Like, why did I have to go through all this? And I think it's so healthy. I think it's so healthy for kids to be able to have the space to ask questions like that.
Absolutely.
And to be angry and to have questions and to process, right? Because it's just, if we can just let our feelings out and talk about them with people that are safe to us, I think it helps us heal and grow, like you're saying.
Absolutely. And it does give you that ability to witness yourself when you free yourself from a lot of the negative programming that we ourselves create, and we're able to witness it and hear it and see it happening. Then we're in a much better place to heal it. And it's not, I mean, it might sound like it's an easy process, but it can be very difficult, and it can take a long time. Sometimes it can happen quickly. All of it is okay. We just have to be brave enough to let go of those voices that rob us of our happiness, and really stop programming ourselves to think the worst, and grab on to the courage and the will to improve ourselves by saying things like, I am worthy, I am deserving of a good home and family, I am lovable, I am loved. These very powerful things that even if we don't believe them, we can work towards believing them and healing,
Which sounds
whatever's
like, yeah, to believe these things we're telling ourselves that we should be believing and that are true, but maybe we have to remind ourselves. And it sounds like, Sherry, this might be part of what inspired you in the film. Max, who's one of the foster children that Lilly cares for, he says you have the power to change the way you see things, which sounds very much like what you just said.
Yep.
I'm wondering what perspective you would encourage prospective foster and adoptive parents to have about children in foster care.
Well, it's funny. I wanted to share something. My initial reaction to that, from my own experiences and with foster children, and just the research I've done also in the foster and adoptive community, because I'm a big supporter in so many ways, so many areas that we can be of support, is that kids want to be considered normal. They're just normal kids. They just might have had some challenge in life, but they are just normal. And that is really something important, I think, to a lot of foster children, that they feel that they're just a normal kid that needs to be loved. And I also reached out just because I thought it would be a lot of fun. So many people that ended up being a part of our LILLY'S Light, the movie family, have adopted children, are foster parents. It's just amazing how it happened. And Jordan, who plays Jakara in the newer segments that were filmed in the movie, was fostered and adopted by her mom, Penny. And so the movie means a lot to her because it's speaking her language as well. And
amazing.
I reached out to Penny, and also my producing partner, Jenny Ogden, fostered and adopted her daughter. And her daughter's name is Jakara, and that's where we got the name for the. So yeah, we wrote the part. I wrote the part of Jakara based on Jenny's daughter. I wrote the parts of Katie Lynn and Ashley based on my two girls. And Uncle Fitz was really the character of my Uncle Daryl, who pretty much was my father figure. And growing up really makes me tear up to think about what he did for me as a young girl. He was a very strong male influence in my life. And so that's where Uncle Fitz character came from. But Penny, I asked Penny the question. I said, if you want to throw in some of what you would say, what would you like to say? And Penny said, quote unquote, hold on to the belief that each child has their own special gift that will become a part of your home. That's what Penny said. And she's just such a precious soul. And I'm in awe of the people who have figured out that loving a child they didn't birth is such a gift. It doesn't, all kids are our children. That's the way I feel about it. And I've never quite understood, because I was fortunate enough to love two girls that I did not birth. I try so hard to explain that feeling to someone else, because there's so many people that are in traditional families that could foster and adopt very easily. They just don't understand how easy it is when you make the choice.
You're right. and then hopefully this, among many other things, are helping to plant some seeds and turn that around.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's really, the more people know, the more people hear, the more we dispel the myths.
I'm curious, who's the inventor character based on?
The inventor, Professor Crab?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I'm trying to think. He's actually based on one of my first producers, who is a scientist and he's like a rocket scientist. Rob Brigham, and Rob lives down in San Diego, and he helped me write all those fun lines that Professor Crab says. He also created the metal detector that we used in the movie. Also, that hat that Professor Crab had on is pretty silly too, with the very long, very silly.
So does the telescope really work, Sherry?
No, it doesn't, but I would love to build one like it. I think the idea of it having multicolors was something that my writing partner Felice and I came up with when we first were creating the story. But when we got a chance to go back and film it when the telescope was down in the basement, we really got a chance to imagine what it would be like if you looked at life through different colored lenses. And that's sort of the reason, the metaphor for the telescope. It's to be able to look at life through a different perspective. And I love that we got to do that and add in the colors song. Just, eventually we always thought that Will Patchett, who's played by Jean-Luc Martin, we always thought that Will Patchett would end up being this clowny kind of character, because he used to be with Cirque du Soleil many years ago. And we thought, well, he could be the character that shows us how to look at things upside down and sideways, like really look at life from a new perspective.
I love the metaphor in that.
Thank you. Thanks. I do too, because every now and then I think we need to do that. We need to put on our rose-colored glasses or our turquoise glasses or our orange glasses, and we just need to see things differently. Step in someone else's shoes for a minute. Feel empathy, things that, gets us out of our stuck traps that we get stuck in,
Yeah, totally, in those stuck traps. And it's interesting because you just mentioned other people that are part of Lily's family, her support system. And so Lily's a single woman who fosters multiple children, and she has a strong support system that includes a repairman and her own adoptive dad. And I'm curious, because to me, since you wrote this, like, you're very intentional about the characters that you brought and their interactions in the film. Why was showing the power of a village raising a child important to you in designing the film?
Wow, that's a really great question. I do think it takes a village, and especially today, in today's world, because, for one example, when we were thinking about developing Lily's, because it takes sometimes more than one income to support a family these days. A lot of times the grandparents or the aunts and the uncles or older siblings or even caregivers are helping with childcare. So it's often important to have these role models, and especially for the target demographic that we were going for in Lily's Light, the movie. It was really written originally for first, second, third, fourth grade kids who are learning how to navigate in the world outside of the home. So was just to give them safe influences and learning how to relate to people outside. One of the things I love about Lily's Light is that the kids have all of these incredibly fun and very real, even though they're a little over the top, characters that they can turn to. Yeah, like Peaches and Dee. I mean, they're silly,
they're great.
Really, but they're based on two of my dearest friends in the world. My best friend Melissa and her sister Sue are Peaches and Dee. And it's really funny because when I first when Melissa first read the script, she said, you wrote this about yourself, right? And I was like, what? And she said, and we're peaches and D. And I said, oh my gosh, you're so right. You're
So
absolutely
you
right.
didn't even see that. You didn't realize you were writing your own story?
I didn't really realize it. No. That's why I'm saying to really check in with my heart. The thing that I always knew was that I had asked Spirit, what's mine to do? And I loved children. I also loved seniors. My mom had Alzheimer's, and I ended up spending a lot of time in senior facilities, singing and performing and doing what I could to uplift the Alzheimer's units because it was really important. And really just providing a home environment, a safe place to nurture and grow is just kind of what I'm most passionate about.
Well,
Children.
It sounds like you're light, right? Like you know that you're a light, and you know you have love and positivity and encouragement to give.
That is true. And if we're not doing it for each other, there's really, what's the point? I mean, that I really like, really when you look at what your life is about, when I looked at what my life was about, I thought, I want to make a difference. And I knew that Lilly's Light, the story was kind of very inspired. Sounds kind of woo-woo, but it felt like it was just sort of given to me as an idea. And I started writing it, and I knew that it was, that it had a sort of spiritual message about finding the spark of light, finding the light within, and really listening to that inner voice and that love. And it was about unity, and we are all one family. But it also had a very earthly mission to advocate for displaced and foster youth. And that just set me on a course. Wow, it's been amazing to actually want to be the character of Lilly. Has been a really incredible growth opportunity for me. I want to be Lilly.
Right? She's such a role model and a positive person.
Exactly.
It's interesting to hear you talk about this, Sherry, because I don't know what other word to use for when you kind of reflect on yourself and get to listen to that inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we all have it. And I think when we can listen, like we can pause and listen and not just like run from something that feels scary, but truly listen to like what our purpose is and doing that thing that seems totally out of the box. And then what happens when we do it, right? Like, look at the impact you're able to have, because you're able to take your gifts and singing and acting and design, all writing, all these wonderful things, and the encouragement and fun. I mean, you talked about a really heavy topic in a bright and cheerful and silly way.
Yep. And, and I expected in some ways I might get some flack for that, because we're so used to the good versus evil model. We're so used to seeing the world in its duality of nature. And I feel very, very strongly that my purpose here is to take the gifts and all of the knowledge that I've been able to acquire from my years as a veteran actor in the industry and put them to use creating more conscious media. And what I mean by that is media that has an energy of light, that will uplift, and that on some deep, whether it's subtle or not, level, we will feel a peace about ourselves when we're watching it. We will feel uplifted. And that whatever resistance and fear we have going on, we might, for even a brief moment, set it aside and imagine a world of love and light. And that's a lot to ask, because there's, people have gone through a lot of things. There are a lot of walls, as the song says in Lilly's Light. Walls are everywhere. But it takes bravery and courage to push through. It's funny. People think, I remember when I was younger and I first moved out here, no one knew what my life had been like. And I would put on a happy face. And I remember one girl saying, I was too nice to be trusted, or like, I was like, people expect, sadly, people expect attitude and people to have edge. in order to be real. But that is sad that we've gotten there, because
and it doesn't have to be true.
It doesn't have to be true. It isn't really true, because when we actually get to know the vulnerable side of ourselves, we're far more powerful. We're far more productive. We're far more successful. We're far more peaceful and happy. It's, it's the walls and the fears and the hardness that keep us from finding that. So, in this world, this is my job to do. It's my job to create content first and foremost for children, because quite honestly, they get it. I mean, I think kids are more open. We have to be like little children anyway, to find the kingdom of heaven. And I'm convinced of that. So we really need to be able to open our hearts like that.
I related to Daniel, the teenage boy that Lily eventually fosters after moving around to 7 homes in total. I didn't who wanted, which is how Daniel feels. What can people do to help children in foster care feel wanted?
That's such a great question, little sister. Thank you so much for asking. I asked Penny that question too, Jordan's mom. I said, what do you think about this question? And she said, she related it to Lilly's Light. And she said, what I see that Lily did in Lilly's Light was she took the time to see through the barriers that each of the children held in front of them. We are required to have patience in the process, and it's okay to alter your strategy in order for a child to feel they are loved and wanted. That's what Penny said. I think acceptance, I think being a listening ear, I think one of the phrases I used all the time with my girls was, if they were angry or upset, wanted to vent, wanted to take it out on me, I would say, well, you know what? That's just fine. Because she's like, I'm going to love you anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm going to love you anyway. There is nothing you can do that will keep me from loving you. And that is a phrase I've used and still use, because everybody has some area in their life where they might be slightly wounded. And it's just like Daniel. Wherever that area is, when we can look at each other with that kind of acceptance and understanding and empathy, even the hardened heart or fear-based, angry child will feel safe, and eventually safe enough to open up.
And you're right, it's that eventual word, right? I was just talking to a foster mom today who reached out because she's dealing with, clinically they would say reactive attachment disorder, or just even talking about attachment, and how kids who've been in foster care oftentimes push away their kind of new family unit or the people that are caring for them. So the foster mom had shared with me that the child behaves incredible at school and incredible in every setting, but at home he just bucks her and her husband and pushes them away and lashes out in anger. And I know in my own family unit I've seen some of those things too. And there's this, you said this earlier, Sherry, about wanting to push people away. I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of this love. And I love what you just said about eventually it's there. Like, your love doesn't stop. Like, you just keep loving through the child, processing through what they've been through, because those are big, heavy feelings.
Yes. And I think knowing that you're going to be consistent and you're going to be a constant is the trick, because eventually there's nothing for them to push. There's no pushback. And when there's no pushback, they eventually let go. I mean, this applies to so many things. It applies to our own lives in so many ways. When we have a bad habit, when we have something that we go to protect ourselves in any way, a fear of relationship, a fear of success, a fear of talking out loud in front of an audience, any fear, anything, we try to prove ourselves right, like why this is right, why we have this. We try to justify our behavior all the time. But when we move into that place of being able to witness ourselves as someone else who loves us can witness us, when we're able to love ourselves like that, we stop with the resistance. And I think it's harder, like we were talking about before, for children who didn't have good parenting to start with, because when you do have good parenting, then you're filled up, your cup is full. But when you haven't, we may have a tendency to look at life with the glass half full, and that has to shift. We have to be able to shift that. So staying stuck in that place of seeing the glass half full will never fill us up. It's okay that we like to be angry, to acknowledge our challenges, but eventually we have to have the strength and the courage to change our thoughts and feed our minds loving thoughts, not blame ourselves, not blame others. My grandmother used to say something that really helped me, and I hope it's okay to say this on the podcast, but my grandmother said to me, God don't make no crap. Which is true. And she was a Southern woman, very earthy and very wonderful. Died when I was young, but I have so many memories of what she did for me in my life. She passed when I was 19. But that statement, God don't make no crap, I would think of it all the time when I was younger, when I didn't have any belief in myself, when I didn't think I was going to pull through or not going to amount to much. And it helped me turn my thoughts around. We have to know that we are deserving of a happy life and a healthy family. And I'm going to end it with this. We have to believe and know that the answer's just around the corner.
It sounds like so many of your songs are inspired by these real life ahas you've had. Because one of your songs in the film, one of the lyrics is also, you can choose the good in everything in life, which, as you've said earlier, like this can apply so many places in our lives. And in my family, little sister often hears my husband and I say, pick your attitude. And for children in foster care, that kind of good, like looking for the good, can feel bleak or hard when they crave and desire to be adopted and to have a forever family and to have a family, right? And so I'm curious what encouragement, what light you can shine, what positivity you can shine and offer to the 120,000 children in our country that are waiting. Because you mentioned earlier, there's so many people that could do this, but something is stopping them. And so as a result, there's this long line of children that are just waiting.
Right. We have to know not to give up on our dream. We have to know that all of it is possible. Penny had something to say about this too, and I'm going to read you what she said. She said, we have the ability to choose to see the positive in our lives. Even in times that may look hopeless, our attitude is essential in finding the good in all situations. Hold on to the belief that one day you will be joined with your forever family. That came from Penny, and that is completely aligned with what I've already said myself. Have the courage, to me, success comes when we have the courage to step out of feeling victimized or sorry for ourselves. And it's not easy to do. But and even at some point, I know some of my success when I was younger was built out of proving my worth to myself. I had a lot of anger, but staying stuck in any of that is going to always limit us. It's really our challenge to move through using our will and our strength to focusing on empowering ourselves and knowing what we deserve. So for a child who's waiting, just have to sit there knowing and feeling all the love that you want to feel from your family, from your mom and dad. You want all of that love, that you feel it, intentionally feel it, and know that it is yours. And it really does help magnetize it. Does really help, because we have a lot of power. We really do. Thoughts are very powerful.
You're so right. You're so right. And I love the things we've talked about. And I hope that current foster parents, retired foster parents, future foster parents, I hope you feel celebrated. I hope you feel cared for. And one thing that you may not have caught, but I think you did, to our listeners, as you've been listening to this conversation, is that Lilly's Light the movie is a musical. And so little sister, as we wrap up, has a simple request for Sherry.
I wonder if you would sing the chorus from Life is Full of Possibilities with us.
Absolutely. You know, it's my ring. It's on my ringer on my phone.
Oh, you sing to yourself? You hear your own voice singing?
No, when someone calls, actually, it's my message. When someone calls, they hear it. So you want to do the two lines of, let's do it together. Ready?
Yes.
Life is full of possibilities. Good things happen unexpectedly.
How beautiful that sounds. So now everyone should go and stream the film. You can find it on Amazon, iTunes, your favorite streaming platform. I think you can even buy it, can't you as well, Sherry?
I think you can. On Amazon, I think we bought it. I think you can buy and rent pretty much on all the platforms. I know that it's on Fandango now and iTunes and Amazon and several other places. I think it's even on YouTube for sale and rent. So, and they're still airing it at Gather at Home, gather.com, GATHR.com.
I love that. So you heard just a little slice of the music. You heard a lot of the heart behind what Sherry has put together and brought to the world. And so thank you for celebrating National Foster Care Month and for celebrating foster parent appreciation. There's just a lot of great things that you've shined the light on, the possibilities and the positivities of foster care. So to foster care, to children waiting, we see you, we acknowledge you, we spread light to you.
Absolutely. Yes, you are a spark of light.
Thanks again, Sherry.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you.
As a listener of the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast, you are helping raise awareness about foster care adoption and the 120,000 children who are waiting for a forever family. You can also help raise awareness by leaving a review, subscribing, sharing, talking about, and liking this podcast. If you'd like more information on adopting a child or sibling set through the foster care system, visit my website, ForgottenAdoptionOption.com. There you will find out how to get started, and you can even order a copy of my book, The Forgotten Adoption Option, which will guide you through the entire process, and it is available in paperback, audio, and ebook. I welcome you to reach out with questions, comments, and your own story. I would love to hear if you're signing up for training or where you are in the adoption process. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just search for Marcy Bursack. Thank you for tuning in, caring, and sharing, because every child deserves a family.